I'm not really sure how I felt about The Jungle Book, to be honest. I was really looking forward to it and thought it showed huge potential, but there are a few small things that I can't seem to get out of my head. The first of which is that it's cheesy as hell. There were actually scenes where I buried my head in my hands. It was so awkward. I understand that the foundation of the story was aimed at children, but this film was actually quite dark, and these cheesy moments just didn't sit right with me in my head. Secondly, Neil Sethi. He's not exactly Jacob Tremblay, is he? In fairness to him, his job wasn't easy at all. He is the only live-action element to this film, and the rest of it is filmed in a green screen room and added later on a computer. Having to act with no one around you to bounce your performance off is very difficult, and he is a child actor after all, so I can't really blame him. Finally, the story had some very funny moments that didn't really add up and felt like just strange add-ons that if you'd lifted out, it wouldn't have made any difference to the plot. I call this Fantastic Mr. Fox syndrome, because although that film was cute and quite enjoyable to watch, nobody can argue that there were some scenes in there that made you think,
what the fuck are you doing?
For example, in The Jungle Book there are these elephants. I don't know why. I really don't. They're just there. In fairness, they do play a very minor role towards the end of the film, but they didn't have to. If they hadn't been there, it would have been no better or worse a film. It's almost like Jon Favreau did his CGI animal budgeting, then realised he still had some money left over, so thought, hey, let's add elephants. Everyone likes elephants. There are a few other minor details to do with the story that I can't really mention because it goes into spoiler territory, but if you have seen the film, I think you'll agree the ending was a bit like this. The rest of the film? Amazing. The casting for all of the animals, close to perfect. I must admit, when I first heard the voice of Idris Elba for Shere Khan, I was a little bit worried. Idris Elba does have a very distinctive voice, and I was concerned that that could detract from the character. Nope. I think in hindsight it was one of the best castings in the film. I can't say it was the best, because Bill Murray's Balu is the perfect character. I think in fairness, if they'd got this film completely wrong and it was a complete disaster, but the Balu character was exactly the same, it could have saved the film. The absolute perfect combination of comedy and badass.
But I'm helping Balu get ready for hibernation.
Bears don't hibernate in a jungle.
Not full hibernation, but I nap a lot.
And he can sing. This is something I really wasn't expecting going into this film, but it did have songs in it. They did hint at it in the trailer.
Forget about your worries and your strife.
What's that?
That's a song about the good life.
But that is all I thought it would be. One little classic song cut in and woven very nicely into the story. What I didn't expect was a sudden full-feature song just bursting out into musical mode in the middle. Again, I didn't think it would fit the tone of this film at all. It looked like a dark film, and random musical moments halfway through just didn't make sense for me in my head. But for the most part, it worked really well. Scarlett Johansson isn't in this film much, but when she is, she kills it as the Snake, with a really menacing and hypnotic voice. However, if you remember back to the Disney classic, the Snake did play quite a major role as Shere Khan's almost sidekick, so I was really quite surprised by the limited amount of screen time that she had. Ben Kingsley as the voice of Bagheera is also almost perfect. I'm actually really struggling to find a casting choice that wasn't on point. And finally, guess what? Christopher Walken is King Louie. He just is. I just sat there watching, yeah, that is the perfect voice for a 30-foot ape. It just is. The story itself is unbelievably simple, and in some cases a bit slow, but the sheer beauty and scale of the CGI and special effects completely distract you from this fact and make you just sit there and go, wow. This film was actually created quite quickly, over only a couple of years, I believe. If they can create this entire jungle with all of these CGI animals in just a couple of years, it does make you think, what the hell is taking Avatar 2 so long? It was a film with flaws, but the live-action Jungle Book is still a brilliant movie. I was really anticipating it, but mainly out of curiosity to see what they would do with it, rather than thinking it would be a great film. I was very pleasantly surprised, and as such, I'm going to give it an 80.